The English civil wars reshaped England's political and social landscape, leaving a lasting impact that would be felt for generations to come. These conflicts were the result of decades of tension between the monarchy and Parliament, each vying for control and influence over the nation. At the heart of this conflict lay a fundamental disagreement over power and authority, with both sides unwilling to compromise. Religion played a key role, with the English Reformation leaving a complex religious landscape that further fueled the discord. Charles I's marriage to the Catholic Henrietta Maria of France exacerbated tensions, as many feared the influence of Catholicism on the Protestant nation. His financial policies, like the imposition of ship money, met resistance from the Parliament, who saw these measures as overreach and a threat to their authority. The king's belief in the divine right of kings clashed with Parliament's growing assertion of its own rights, leading to an inevitable confrontation. By the early 1640s, England stood on the brink of disaster, with the nation deeply divided and tensions running high. The king and Parliament were locked in a bitter power struggle, each side determined to emerge victorious and shape the future of England. The stage was set for one of the most tumultuous periods in English history, a time of great upheaval and change that would forever alter the course of the nation. The First English Civil War began in August 1642, marking a decisive break between King Charles I and Parliament. This conflict was the culmination of years of tension and disagreement over how the country should be governed. The raising of the royal standard at Nottingham signaled the start of open warfare. It was a dramatic gesture that declared the king's intent to fight for his authority. Early battles were inconclusive, with neither side able to secure a decisive victory. However, the parliamentarians, with their better organization and resources, gradually gained the upper hand. Oliver Cromwell's new model army proved instrumental in securing crucial victories. This disciplined and well-trained force was a game-changer in the conflict. In 1644, at the Battle of Marston Moor, the parliamentarians inflicted a crushing defeat on the Royalists. This battle was one of the largest and most significant of the war. The following year, at the Battle of Naseby, Cromwell's forces shattered the king's hopes of military victory. This decisive battle marked a turning point in the war. In 1646, Charles I surrendered to the Scottish Covenanters, marking the end of the First English Civil War. His surrender was a significant moment, but it did not bring lasting peace. However, the conflict was far from over. The war had left the country deeply divided, and the issues that had sparked the conflict remained unresolved. The king's surrender only ushered in a brief interlude, masking deep national divisions. The Parliament itself was split, with different factions vying for power and influence. Cromwell's new model army was unlike anything we had faced before. Their discipline, training, and commitment to their cause made them a formidable force. It felt like the king was losing his grip on power, and we were just waiting for the next move. The tension was palpable, and everyone knew that the struggle for control was far from over. The period following the First English Civil War, known as the Interregnum, was marked by uneasy peace and political maneuvering. Charles I, though a prisoner, remained a potent symbol of authority. Parliament was divided on the future of the monarchy. Some favoured compromise, while others viewed Charles as a tyrant who needed to be punished. In 1647, frustrated by stalled negotiations, the army seized control of London, igniting the Second English Civil War. The Second English Civil War was a shorter but more decisive conflict, lasting from 1648 to 1649. This period was marked by intense battles and significant political upheaval. Enraged by the king's escape from captivity, parliamentarian forces, led by the determined Oliver Cromwell, moved swiftly to crush royalist uprisings across the country. Their resolve was unyielding as they sought to restore order and assert their control. At the Battle of Preston in August 1648, the new model army, known for its discipline and effectiveness, decisively defeated the main royalist army. This victory was a turning point, showcasing the strength and strategy of the parliamentarian forces. With the king again in their custody, the parliamentarians faced a momentous decision. The capture of Charles I had presented them with a unique opportunity to reshape the future of the nation. In Encouraged by the army, they took the unprecedented step of putting their monarch on trial. This was a bold and controversial move, reflecting the deep divisions and the desire for accountability.
I refuse to recognize this court. You have no authority over a king appointed by God. Charles I's defiance was clear as he stood firm in his belief of divine right.
In January 1649, Charles I was tried for high treason and other high crimes. The trial was a historic event, drawing attention from across the nation and beyond. Despite his defiance, Charles I was found guilty and sentenced to death. The sentence was carried out with solemnity and gravity, reflecting the seriousness of the moment. On January 30th, 1649, Charles I was beheaded, marking a turning point in English history. His execution sent shockwaves through the nation, symbolizing the end of an era. It ushered in a period of republican rule, the Commonwealth of England, led by Oliver Cromwell. This new era was characterized by significant political and social changes as the country navigated its way through uncharted territory. The execution of Charles I marked the beginning of the Commonwealth. This period saw England governed as a republic, with power initially residing in the Rump Parliament. However, the real power lay with Oliver Cromwell and the new model army.
I emerged as the dominant figure, ruthlessly crushing royalist uprisings.
In 1653, frustrated by the Rump Parliament, Cromwell dissolved it and established the Protectorate. As Lord Protector, Cromwell held near absolute power, ruling with pragmatism and religious zeal. Cromwell's rule was marked by both reform and repression. His death in 1658 plunged the Commonwealth into crisis, paving the way for the restoration of the monarchy. The Third English Civil War was a brief but intense campaign. Charles II, the exiled son of the executed king, declared himself king and rallied support. In 1650, Cromwell led his forces north to confront the Scottish royalists.
The Battle of Dunbar in September 1650 was decisive. Cromwell's forces routed the Scottish army, crushing organized royalist resistance. In 1651, Charles II led his remaining forces into England, hoping to spark a popular uprising. However, the invasion proved to be a costly miscalculation. At the Battle of Worcester in September 1651, Cromwell's forces achieved a crushing victory. Charles II narrowly escaped capture, fleeing into exile in France.
Following Cromwell's death in 1658, England entered a period of political uncertainty. Richard Cromwell, Oliver's son, proved to be a weak leader. Amidst growing unrest, General George Monk marched his troops into London in 1660. Monk orchestrated the restoration of the monarchy, inviting Charles II to return from exile. In May 1660, Charles II landed at Dover, greeted by jubilant crowds. The restoration marked the end of the Interregnum and the return of the Stuart dynasty. The monarchy was restored, but it was a monarchy tempered by the experiences of the civil wars. The English civil wars were a clash of ideologies.
On one side stood the royalists, defenders of the monarchy and traditional social order. They believed in the divine right of kings.
The royalists drew support from the nobility and those benefiting from the existing social hierarchy.
On the other side stood the parliamentarians, united by their belief in the supremacy of Parliament. They argued that the king was not above the law.
The parliamentarians drew support from merchants, artisans, and the growing middle class. This clash of ideologies played out on battlefields, in the halls of power, and in the homes of ordinary people. The English civil wars exacted a heavy toll on society. Constant warfare disrupted trade and agriculture, leading to economic hardship. The countryside was ravaged and towns burdened with supporting troops. Families were divided and communities torn apart by suspicion and mistrust. The religious landscape was reshaped, with Puritan practices imposed. The conflict left a legacy of trauma and loss. It highlighted the deep divisions within English society. The wars served as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace. The English civil wars cast a long shadow over British history. They marked a turning point in English political thought and practice. One enduring legacy was the establishment of parliamentary supremacy. The conflict shattered the notion of the divine right of kings. Parliament emerged as a powerful force in English government. The wars also impacted religious freedom and tolerance. The conflict led to a greater awareness of the need for religious toleration. The civil wars left a legacy of political debate and activism. The echoes of the English civil wars can still be felt today. The English Civil Wars represent a pivotal chapter in British history. They were a period of immense upheaval and bloodshed, but also a time of profound change. The conflict shattered the old order, challenging traditional notions of power and authority. The Civil Wars left an enduring legacy shaping British political institutions and social attitudes. The conflict affirmed the principle of parliamentary supremacy and inspired political reformers. The lessons learned continue to resonate today, reminding us of the importance of dialogue and compromise.